Yeah, hi there, this is tuxaucher.com. Welcome on my video channel. Most of us now store files in some sort of a cloud storage, especially photos. This makes those files, photos and so on, available on all devices connected to the corresponding cloud clients. However, as it is well known, I host a Nextcloud instance myself here in my Proxmox virtual environment. Additionally, as a part of a Microsoft Office license, however, I also have a OneDrive cloud with 1 terabyte of storage space, and I have given up either on cloud systems like Dropbox or Google Drive, where you can only have 5-10 gigabytes or so on in the free of charge version. But if you have a server running anyway, setting up the respective clients on the various system isn't a problem, however, but you have a client running on each system, and then the data from the cloud is synchronized on all clients separately. While the storage of, let's say 10, 15, maybe 20 gigabytes on my Nextcloud isn't that much or bigger of a problem, it is actually wasted storage space with the OneDrive cloud, which I use between 150 and 200 gigabytes of storage space. With Nextcloud, the so-called virtual files never worked for me properly, especially under Windows, and always cause problems, so you have to reserve the storage space for each client. And here we're talking about Windows, Linux, and also Macintosh clients. Since I operate several network drives via Samba anyway, what makes sense to provide these cloud services with the storage space within an internal network. For Nextcloud, there is a native client for Linux, and for OneDrive, to stay with the example, there is a corresponding project on GitHub that allows the various Linux distributions to synchronize the contents of OneDrive Cloud to the local file system. So let's take a look on this in a virtual environment under Proxmox. Okay, I prepared here a little bit. I installed or generated a Linux LXC container within my Proxmox environment. And here we will install the Nextcloud client and a OneDrive client as an example. And you see here that's a clean installation of Debian Bookworm, and I think I configured 4 gigabyte of RAM, but I doubt that I need that, so we probably could reduce that after Nextcloud and OneDrive are installed. Okay, but first of all, we install a Nextcloud client. So we do apt search Nextcloud desktop CMD, I guess. That is the desktop client, and that we are gonna install here. And as you can see here, there are a whole bunch of libraries to be installed, mainly for working with the graphical environment, Wayland and so on. We probably wouldn't need that, but 400 megabytes, I think it's okay for that functionality. So we install that. Okay, that is installed now. And you probably won't do a sync to your cloud as root user, so I already added here a regular user, and we make a directory nc for Nextcloud. The usual execution of that tool would be like that here. I would change that to PM, of course, and change that to the directory I just created. But that has the disadvantage that username and the password are stored in clear text here in the call of the Nextcloud CMD, app, and if you do that in a script or so on, almost everybody can read the username and password. So I prepared that one. That is the info about the netrc file where you can store passwords and log in for such reasons in the home directory of the current user, and that is what we're going to do. We make the file netrc and fill in the credentials. And of course we should change the mode to 600 for that file, so only the owner of the directory or the owner of the file can read it. Now we could call, there seems to be a bug, okay. We cinched that with the silent option. Okay, here he starts to cinch and gives us a log of the cinching, and will download the complete directory, the complete contents of the cloud to the local directory, and you can use the same execution for Nextcloud CMD if you want to cinch back to your cloud in the internet. We cut that, and as you can see here, the first directories were cinched, so that is running okay. Okay, the next one would be to cinch OneDrive. We do the same here, and there is a GitHub project for OneDrive client for almost every Linux distribution you can think of, and really good installation manual or text file which you can follow, and that will work out pretty well. The first thing we won't do, we don't want to remove the other repositories because it's a fresh installation of Debian Bookworm, as I mentioned before. So we can quit this. Maybe we do that here. That is updating the system. Copy that in. Okay. The next one would be, we skip the reboot time. Of course, we know what distribution we got, and then we can go right away to the Debian 12 or Bookworm installation or instructions. So we could download the release key for the other repository, just fill that in. But on this installation, we have to take care about the sudo command. Have to install that first. Now it's all gone. Then the second one is to introduce the new repository, and here I have to take care of the sudo command again, and then I do a update to update the packages. And the next one is to install OneDrive. As I mentioned, we skip sudo, and that is the installation. And now we come to the authentication process. Do that one here, and all we have to do is to call or execute OneDrive itself. And here you got the description of the authorizing process, and we will do that here just as an example. But then first I have to become a normal user again, and then I do a OneDrive, and then you can see here the login URL. Copy that one. Then I have, of course, to go to Microsoft and log in. Then you get a code via email. I won't show this in the example here. And after you filled in that one, you have to copy this all here on the top of your browser. And that is now copied into this field here. And that should be enough for authentication. And now you can run OneDrive to sync your OneDrive or Microsoft Cloud with a local Linux system. As you could see, installing and configuring the Nextcloud command line interface client in particular is very easy, as it is available in most distribution in the corresponding package managers. Also, there are installed a lot of libraries and so on, additional stuff, which is used for graphical environments. The installation with around 400 megabytes isn't too much. With OneDrive, it's a little bit more complicated, but thanks to the detailed documentation of this setup process on GitHub, it's also not a problem really. The only experience I had is that if you already used a couple of storage space and you try to download the cloud storage to your local drive, there could be some error messages like error 500 and so on. This is caused probably between the communication between the client and the OneDrive system on the other hand. So what I did is I got my OneDrive client here on Windows and stored all the files I have in the OneDrive cloud to a local external drive, and then copied those files to the Linux system where I installed the GitHub project on. However, this setup is successful and the first synchronization is successful, and you only have one server on which you have Nextcloud, in this case OneDrive Cloud content. Synchronization isn't a problem. The easiest way to make this content available to everyone, of course, is a Samba client, and that is what I did. I just configured a Samba client referring to those two directories. One, on the other hand, is of course the OneDrive client, on the other hand is the Nextcloud client, and now I have available on all clients, including Linux, Windows, and of course Macintosh system, so I can even use my MacBook Pro to store files which are later on synchronized to Microsoft OneDrive. For Microsoft OneDrive, you have to decide whether you use the monitor options. So OneDrive will look from time to time if there are changes in the file system, so it will start a synchronization process. In the case of Nextcloud, create a small script, that is what I did at least, that checks, let's say, every few minutes, 5-6 minutes, and start a synchronization process. You can, of course, define this with a timer or with the inotifywait tool, which also looks for changes in the local file system. In any case, I've made my cloud storage available to the system, and the space is needed exactly once. The only exception I did was with the Nextcloud client, and that is on the MacBook Pro, because sometimes you don't have a connection to your local network. So it is useful that you at least have a synchronization over the internet, either in another wireless LAN or via your iPhone and so on. Okay, that was my experience with local cloud storage on a Linux system via the Nextcloud CLI interface and the OneDrive project on GitHub. And if you have any questions to this, you might as well place them in the comments here or in the comments to the corresponding blog post. And if this video was helpful to you, you might consider placing a like on the video, and more helpful for the channel would be that you subscribe my channel, but then don't forget to hit the bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Okay, that was my little review on those two cloud clients, and all I have to say is till the next time, ciao, tux oche.